Hello and welcome to Gritty Reboot, the show where we make fun of TV's dark side. We're currently watching Riverdale, and today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 9. With me are my co-hosts, Kevin and Sarah. You guys went on a trip recently. How was it returning to the James family coven for the ritual tapping of the tree?
Well, it didn't run red with blood this year, so my family didn't burn Sarah alive inside a Wicker Man, unlike my last two girlfriends.
Yeah, I made it out with only second-degree burns, so I'm counting myself very lucky.
Hey, you got back to Portland in one piece.
Yeah.
And, so this episode, for me, I'd always wondered what it was like to be on a plane the moment everyone on board realized that it was going to crash. This episode gave me that sensation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
It's such a weird episode because we were talking about it earlier in the week, and it's so straightforward and so insane at the same time.
It's where I realized that the writers aren't necessarily involved in hey, let's make a story that makes sense. They're just it'd be cool to do this week.
Syrup snifters.
It took you 9 episodes to realize that the show creators weren't interested in telling a logical story.
I'm an optimist, and I was like, no, they're gonna start answering some of these questions, and I think this was the tipping point where I'm like, they're just gonna keep shoveling on more mystery, and they have no intention of ever solving it. So I've got some rage with some of the choices. I have to hand it to them. If you had told me even 2 weeks ago, oh yeah, up ahead there's gonna be a syrup ritual and a sort of gigolo plot going on with Archie, you can't predict this stuff. At the very least, they're being really unique.
Yeah, I guess it does really have that going for it. The plot twists in the show are so insane that it does make it unpredictable, which is something.
Oh, it's something. That must be the Le Grand Illusion that the title refers to.
Oh, yeah.
It's the illusion of a cohesive television show.
The illusion that they have writers and it's really not just some sort of AI learning thing that just spits out random scripts.
It honestly feels like a play that you would have made up with your friends as a child. Did you guys ever? I don't know if you ever did that, but
Yes.
I did. Like a little skit where you're just and then it's gonna be a syrup ritual, and then this is gonna happen.
So you literally
and it's a party.
grew up in the plot of Little Women.
Yeah, I thought we established
that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, have you guys ever heard of Twitch plays Pokemon?
No.
I know what Twitch and Pokemon are.
Yeah, so
Same
Twitch,
here.
that video game streaming site, they did this experiment where they played through the Pokemon game, and anyone who watched and commented basically dictated how the game was played. And so there were thousands of people shouting contradictory instructions at the screen. And so my understanding, because I never watched it, because I'm not really a fan of watching live streams of video games, is that created this insane playthrough that made no sense. And that's how I assume these episodes of Riverdale are written. Twitch plays Riverdale.
Maybe that's what they're doing over here.
Yeah. What if that game but a TV show?
Yeah. And that's the Le Grand Illusion, as the French would say. And I've never seen this movie. I had to look it up. I don't know anything about it.
I think we can all say, though, it had a lot to do with the plot of the story. I think this episode was absolutely a French anti-war film. Strong message.
Cheryl says 2 words in French, so...
She does.
So that's the tie-in. We've probably got a couple better titles. If you had been in the Riverdale writer room, in the midst of this chaos, where I figure it's just 2001 Space Odyssey with apes clubbing each other, what would you have titled this?
Whoa, yours are too good, Sarah. We've got to save yours for last.
Mine's not that good.
Let me go first so that I can get my dumb ideas out there, and they don't suffer by after comparison to yours. So my first one was School of Rock, and then maybe a little too obvious, but Girl with a Pearl Necklace.
Nice.
That one might already be a title of something, but...
Well, I took it from Girl with a Pearl Earring, which I don't know how, because, necklace and earring, they're both just jewelry, but Girl with a Pearl Earring just has such a smoother, nicer sound than Girl with a Pearl Necklace.
Yeah. That has a lot less connotations as
Uh-huh.
well. Sarah, what are these ones you've been sitting on? Or maybe I should go first since I'm sure mine aren't that great.
All right.
I mean, mine was, if you want to go movie references, American Gigolo.
Yeah.
Sure.
The other ones were The Fantastic Mr. Fucks and Archie trips over his own dick, which is maybe a little bit on the nose.
Yeah, also could be the title of every episode of Riverdale, but yeah. All right, so mine, I feel like this just because one of them cracked him up. The Sweetest Thing and The Grabbin' in the Woods.
Okay, I didn't expect that. That's beautiful.
I told you we couldn't follow that, Hunter.
I'm so glad I didn't try and follow that up. There's no way.
It's so good. I really wish I'd thought of that.
Well,
See?
you didn't, sucker.
Gotta up my syrup intake. I've only got one snifter of maple here.
You're gonna need at least some sort of like quart jug.
Yeah, I gotta be like the famous Northeastern beat poets who are all high on grade B maple syrup.
I really
Yeah.
love the beginning of this episode, though, where they all have their shots of maple syrup that they're all doing together. I wanted to yell, like, shots, shots, shots.
So syrup, I can understand like Bricks testing it for sugar content, but I don't know if there's really a need to put it in a small glass. Like, is that just this was so weird.
Oh, sure, and there are different glasses for different grades of maple syrup that really bring out the flavors. I'm lying. There are, of course, no such thing.
So before we jump into this beautiful opening monologue where syrup is touted to be worth its weight in gold and like more valuable than oil, I think we have some cultural references. This episode was pretty light on them though.
Yeah, there were 3, arguably 4. I wasn't sure about one of them, but I'm like, you know what? It's so light, I'm gonna throw it in anyway just to pad it out a bit. So let's go in.
Archie, if music be the food of love, play on. Play on.
Look, I don't know what kind of Stockholm Syndrome spell you've cast on her, but I want to talk to my sister.
My parents are unbelievable, Jug. Polly is locked up in that house like a character out of Jane Eyre.
I thought it was Cinderella that ran away from the ball, not Prince Charming.
Yeah, that was it. So Stockholm Syndrome, that was the one I wasn't sure whether to count, but 3 references just felt like way too small. Like, what show is this now? It's unrecognizable.
There was one other reference that I just noticed on the rewatch. Jughead, whenever Cheryl comes over, says the Ice Woman cometh, which is a reference to the play The Iceman Cometh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But still, for this show, extremely light, and Cinderella is an extremely basic reference.
Yes.
Yes.
Though Cheryl got in a Shakespeare reference to Twelfth Night, which I have to say blows out every reference Veronica has ever made in like one fell swoop. It's way more intelligent. And like she didn't stop to say like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the works of William Shakespeare. But music be the food of love. So
Hey, we found out this episode that she is a 4.0 student.
yeah.
So she's able to just whip stuff like that out. I don't remember Jane Eyre. Is someone locked up in that?
So someone is locked up in an attic, which makes it really weird that it's mentioned this episode when Polly's no longer in an attic, but okay.
Yeah, if we think back to our clip we unearthed in that episode with Polly in the Attic, that character Bertha Mason that was mentioned in that cut scene we unearthed, that's the character who's locked up in the attic in Jane Eyre.
Yes,
Oh.
it's Mr. Rochester's first wife.
I read that book some point in college, and I literally dumped every word of it out of my brain as soon as I was done.
I've only read half of it. I wasn't able to get into it as much as I was able to get into Wuthering Heights.
I love Jane Eyre.
I'm more of a Gremlins 2, the new batch novelization of the film type of guy.
Ah, Anne Bronte, the underrated sister.
Yes, yeah. But no, back to this opening monologue. Okay, the line is that syrup is thicker than blood, more precious than oil. So can we just take a moment of silence to remember the vicious syrup wars that were waged?
This opening was so weird. Like, I loved how everyone is just like pouring on Blossom maple syrup, including the Coopers, who, like, you're in a blood feud with the Blossoms. You'd think they at least would, like, opt for some Mrs. Butterworth instead.
Yeah. There's no way they would have purchased Blossom syrup. There's got to be competitors.
Yeah, just get some Vermont maple syrup and be done with it.
Val does get a split second of screen time when she and Archie are eating pancakes at Pop's, so this episode may actually be some of where she's most prominent.
Sadly enough, she gets 3 non-consecutive scenes of, like, 2 to 5 seconds each.
Yes. It's pretty awful, but we get it. Like, we've kind of been over this before, of the town being built on maple syrup and there being a blood feud over it.
But what we haven't gone before is the Blossom corporate board, which seems to be staffed exclusively with redheads.
My theory is there's like a multiverse of Blossoms, and they've all descended into this Riverdale universe in order to determine this, and these are just alternate reality versions of like Cliff and Penelope.
It's like a Crisis on Infinite Riverdales.
Yes.
I think there must just be like some old wives' tale where if like you don't have red hair, you'll spoil the tree. Don't let a brown-haired woman near your tree. Your syrup will spoil.
But Cheryl is at least, she's standing outside in a mini skirt when there's snow coming down as the trustees arrive.
Oh my god, I made such notes on this. Like, Cheryl, girl, pants. You've got 2 inches of skirt, and there is a blizzard happening.
It's not a blizzard, it's just snowing.
It's a blizzard to me.
Okay, California.
I'm looking outside. It looks literally like the opening of this show right now at my window because there's 2 giant maple trees and there's a ton of snow coming down. I would not be out there in a mini skirt.
Yeah, it's...
Well, you just don't love maple enough.
I don't. Okay, you're gonna know that's gonna get disproven. There was a lot of maple research that went into this episode for me.
Good. So Jughead says that Cheryl won't inherit the family business, which I'm not sure totally makes sense based on what we know of the show. And I just don't get like what is going to happen instead. Like, is someone going to usurp the throne?
I don't know. It just seemed really sexist at this point. Like,
yeah.
I think they're just like, if she can't wear sensible snow clothing, how can she run a maple empire?
that was a strange plot twist. As strange as in the next scene when Jughead and Betty are in Betty's bedroom and they're like making out in there, door closed. Alice doesn't seem to have a problem with this, which doesn't jive with her character to me.
Yeah, she was weirdly out of character a lot this episode. But Hunter, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Let's say a family had been a thorn in your side for generations, having literally killed your grandfather-in-law. What do you think you might do to bring them to heel? What would be the best no-holds-barred takedown to deliver to that family?
Burn down their house, salt their fields. Let's see. Probably some like do a deep fake sex tape to prove that one of the like spouses of the family was cheating.
No, Hunter, you're thinking too small scale. I was thinking a sternly worded op-ed would do the trick.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a good option. Probably better than mine. I think it would affect them a lot more if a small town newspaper published a hit piece.
Yeah?
That's actually how the Hatfield-McCoy feud was resolved. It's an op-ed.
Opinions. Let's stop.
But yeah, so Alice Cooper is like, I know what's going to take the Blossom family down. I'm going to publish an expose. Don't have any material, but I'm going to publish it.
The Blossoms have always been a thorn in our side. Ever since, according to your milquetoast father, Great-Grandpappy Blossom killed Great-Grandpappy Cooper. Well, it's about time someone brings them to heel. I'm writing a searing, no-holds-barred takedown of their clan.
Yeah, like what are you gonna expose? You just have a hunch that they're dirty.
Point 1, they have a creepy house. Point 2, can you really trust a redhead? Point 3.
Let's examine the evidence. They have a dead son. Seems suspicious. Poor parenting.
They have the Maple Empire. Is it perhaps treason?
I knew that pun was coming at some point. Didn't know when, but knew it would come up.
Happy to come through for you.
She does accuse the whole Blossom group of being, like the trustee board of being vampires, which I liked. And I think as I was watching the rest of the episode, I felt like that was what it was going to be, and was kind of sad that they didn't turn out to be undead.
Yeah.
That would have been an amazing reveal.
Her reasoning of wanting to publish this hit piece it'll make me feel better.
Is there a better reason to do anything? Not in her world.
Apparently not. But I still don't get, hey, your last daughter, you have this whole scandal and freak out over the fact that she had a teen pregnancy, but you're totally okay with your younger daughter being alone in her bedroom with her boyfriend.
Maybe she knows that in the comics Jughead is asexual, so she knows it's not going anywhere.
The non-canon romance just really freaks her out. She doesn't know what to do with it.
It seemed really strange. Alice is not the Alice that I know and love.
Yeah, she was subdued this whole episode. It was not an improvement.
Well, she's
Yeah.
not subdued throughout the entire episode.
Okay, there was one great scene we'll get to.
Yes.
Yes.
A
She does have
classic.
moments where she shows her true glory. Meanwhile, everyone's least favorite character, Veronica, continues to be everyone's least favorite character.
Oh my god, she had a great moment in the scene. So Hermione is like, the lawyers are coming to take our statements. And Veronica says,
What if they ask about what he did? Embezzling all that money?
what? Why would the lawyers who are coming to depose you ask about the criminal activities your dad did in anticipation of the criminal trial they're gonna have?
Seems crazy. They'll probably just chit chat, ask what you would like for lunch. Like, really? You guys are supposed to be like called to testify for him. What do you think's gonna happen?
It's so wild. I thought her dad was already in prison, but I guess he's just in jail, awaiting trial.
I guess in jail, awaiting trial. Has bail been set? I don't understand what's happening.
Is Sheriff Keller running this investigation? Because that would make a lot of sense.
He's in pre-prison, which it's like preschool. You only have to wear orange pants, but you can wear any shirt you want.
More fingerprinting than finger painting, but like same idea.
Yeah. And then Hermione reveals Hiram knows that she's been sleeping around with Luke Perry, and Veronica seems like the obvious choice as the person who would have spilled the beans on this.
Nope. Spilled off screen by someone we don't know, because that's how you do drama.
Mm-hmm.
Later, there's some accusations that Cliff is the one who told Hiram, but for reasons I'll get into, which made me really upset, I don't see how that's possible.
It's a weird plot all around.
Honestly, every time those two discuss Stowdale, I like fall asleep on the inside, where I'm just like, I don't care about this at all.
We're not even seeing any sort of construction. We don't even know what the building's gonna look like. We have no reason to be invested in this weird construction side plot.
I still have no idea why like a big shot embezzling New York City finance guy was so interested in a drive-in in upstate New York. That makes absolutely no sense to me. None of this fits together.
I'm just throwing this out there. I don't think that the writers of Riverdale understand anything about business.
They don't understand anything about writing, so I thought maybe they'd be business experts.
Well, they knew that sometimes business people have briefcases of money, which is like business 101.
They knew that 15-year-old girls are sometimes in charge of massive corporations.
They've got most of it down. They really did their research. Unlike their maple syrup research, which apparently they didn't even do a cursory Google search. And I don't want to detract from the upcoming scene, but Cheryl goes to Archie and is like, maple syrup season's starting. We're going to be tapping the trees. Maple syrup season isn't till spring. So unless we fast forwarded past the holidays to like February or March, then no, it's not maple syrup season.
It's one of those famous spring snowfalls that New England is famous for.
Okay, well, I have been to many tree tappings in the snow. So it does snow well into like March and April in the Northeast. But yes, I bumped on that as well, where I was like, isn't it like November?
Yes.
I don't understand.
So the opening monologue even has Jughead say that winter had come early.
Yes.
So this is the beginning of winter. For me, I got my first snowfall here in the first week of November. Got like 8 inches of snow. So I'm thinking maybe it's, early to mid-November.
Correct, yeah. First snow in upstate is like from last week of October to like mid-November is when you expect the first time.
I just think this is more Riverdale timeline craziness. What I expect to happen is that everything will continue to be all over the map. Sometime at the end of the season, they'll be like, it was summer. We were finally ready for sophomore year homecoming dance.
Anyway, although that was some maple minutia, which we'll get more of because you know what? I'm going to be making maple syrup in spring. I'm going to end up posting a video of this is how it's actually made.
I hope you just find the right mini skirt for the tree tapping.
Yes. I'm going to need to involve all the trustees.
Absolutely. Can you get red peacoats for everyone who attends? It's very important.
It's probably mostly going to be like me and whatever family wants to come up for it.
So just you.
Just you, but in a red hood still, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so after Cheryl tells Archie that maple season is starting, she asks him to be her date to the tree tapping.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I really admire her for just coming right out there and just asking him if he wants to tap that. Good for her. Take charge.
Imagine him, as soon as she asked, just like pulling out his phone and just texting Val super fast, like, not working out, breaking up, okay, bye.
I mean, you joke, but that's basically what happens.
Right, except he doesn't tell Val because
Right.
he's a douchebag.
No, he tells Val just off screen, and she's okay with it off screen.
Yeah, no, I don't think that she actually knows. That's my theory on this. Man, Cheryl lays it on real thick. She comes in with a Shakespeare quote about music being the food of love when Archie's just tuning his guitar. He's not even playing a song.
What song do you call that, Archie? I call it My E String is a Little Flat.
And then Archie says, you could just take Kevin or Reggie instead. Just like dye their hair red. No one will even notice. But she's like, no, I want my date to be someone who looks just like my dead twin. Why is this so difficult to understand? Jeez.
It's so weird that, like, she's really dead set on this. I know Cheryl has said some flirtatious things to Archie before, but she kind of just, like, she's never really expressed a deep interest in him until this episode.
Yeah, it's very sudden. But, I mean, I'm into it.
Yeah, I was screaming at the screen most of this episode because Archie was not doing what I would have done. Probably would have been like, Val, this ain't working. All right, Cheryl, I'm free.
He turns her down, and I guess that's the end of it. Probably won't come up again.
Yeah, he's a fool.
Cheryl says,
And every year we host a tree tapping ceremony, a tradition that honors the Blossom bloodline, our heritage.
and I was just like, wow, that is so bold of the show to reveal that the Blossoms are descended from trees.
Basically, the Blossoms are tree ents. This whole ceremony that we go to is sort of their version of an ent moot.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
They're big Tolkien fans.
After the tree tapping, we'll go tear down the Tower of Orthanc.
Yeah. I don't know if it's pronounced Tolkien or Tolkien, but I want people to yell at me for doing it wrong.
At least we can just call him by his first name, Jur.
Yes.
I like the way he wrote that right there.
Little known fact, Tolkien was a huge Chingy fan.
Absolutely.
I can really tell that from all the song interludes in Lord of the Rings. They're definitely influenced by Southern hip hop.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, I believe that Tolkien's follow-up book, The Silmarillion, was actually supposed to be a collaboration with Nelly.
Wow, that's a nice St. Louis rap reference right there.
Thank you. It's almost like I was alive in 2004.
Speaking of beautiful lyricism, Ethel's reading some great Black Veil Brides lyrics out to the class. I imagine Archie in the back just writing down everything, plagiarizing it for his next song.
I really want to know what class this is, because I'm sure it's English class, but it feels like it's Unleash Your Inner Demons 101.
I like to imagine this was just like civics or government class and she got up and read this poem.
I feel moved to speak. And like all angsty teen poetry that I ever wrote, it involves like wanting to hug your dad, obviously.
Yeah.
Clear theme.
Yeah, things got a little strange, and Veronica instantly wants the tea.
I can't fault her unfailing instinct for finding drama, though. It was appreciated.
Yeah.
She tells Kevin Ethel's poem was a cry for help, and it's like, yeah, you think? It couldn't have been more of a cry for help. It was titled Cry for Help Part 6 of the My Life is Pure Misery and I Want It to End series.
I wanted her to ask, and she's like, Ethel, what's going on? And I want, instead of like a real thing, Ethel will just be like, things are rough. My mom canceled the HBO Go subscription.
But what Ethel actually says is,
It's like this really bad thing is happening, and there's nothing that I can do to stop it.
it was really evocative. It hit me right in the part of me that feels feelings.
See, there's this thing involving this person. Someone wants me to do something.
No one says anything straight out in this show. And this is where they start troweling on this symbolism of metamorphosis into Veronica's storyline, because first Kevin is reading Metamorphosis whenever she hauls him into the conversation. Mm-hmm. And there's several more references to it, but I think they're trying to be like, this is where the point of the story where Veronica radically changes.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. I do want to point out, there's this great moment when, because Veronica invites Ethel to come have dinner with her to feel better and says, don't worry, Kevin will be there too. And Kevin gives us looks like, what? I'm gonna be a part of this story?
What if he had a date with Joaquin?
Right.
Kevin's got other stuff going on.
Also, if Veronica is gonna do spa days with every sad kid at her high school, like, she's gonna need to open a salon. Like, that's an insurmountable task.
That's her solution to everything, though. It was the same thing she did to Betty in episode 2, just with more yellow roses.
Pretty much. And Kevin wants to know why Veronica's being so nice to Ethel. And Veronica tells him about her history as a, quote, Class A brutal bitch. So, Sarah, I was just wondering, what would you consider to be, like, the demeaning bullying of a Class A brutal bitch?
I mean, top bullying that you could possibly perform would be making someone drink water.
Yeah. I was worried that at first it might be something lightweight, like cajoling them into suicide, serial online harassment, maybe like making nudes of them and submitting it to like all the school children. But no, making them drink dirty water. That is, I shuddered. I had to pause and take a walk to process this.
I would have done that for like $5.
Right? Gutter water? I would have been like, sure, whatever.
And oh my god, like, Kevin replies to us like, oh my god, did you cause her to commit suicide? And Veronica is so like, no, she just transferred. What's wrong with you?
Veronica's like, oh, me and my best friend Katie bullied this girl. First of all, I want to meet Katie. She sounds like a cool character. She seems like a rockin' chick. And then later, Veronica's like, oh no, she just transferred to school. She's in therapy now. I still cyberbully her on the weekends just to keep in touch.
It's a really odd, like, lack of self-awareness moment. Like, she's trying to confess this brutal past, and it's not that brutal, and she gets offended at the idea that there would have been real consequences for her actions, which is, like, such a lack of self-awareness. I do appreciate that the plot is kind of dealing with Veronica's bad girl past in a more concrete way. But just the lengths the writing goes to shield her from any actual consequences is kind of crazy.
I would love it if she'd driven someone to suicide. Like, that would make her a way more interesting character.
That was my thought of, we already have a dead teenager from episode 1 in this show. Why not imbue some of the other storylines with as much heft so it doesn't seem like a pointless detour from a bigger, more important story?
Hell, maybe she bullied Jason to death. I'm into that. Whatever. just give her something to work with.
She was just browsing Facebook, you know, like Zoomers do. And she came across Jason Blossom's Facebook profile, and she's like, time to cyberbully him.
Creepy diphtheria kid.
So when you get a bruise, does it take like 6 months to heal?
Do you just go right to your sister's bed for help? No, I mean, yeah. Just really, at this point, anything to make her character more interesting, I would really appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of nice that, like, she's made herself the character who's, like, caring and sympathetic to people who are going through a tough time, but I don't know, that's not a thing that really helps her character. It kind of relegates her to supporting character despite being in the main cast in a weird way.
But she's also been this character since episode 1 when she was super supportive of Betty. So that's why I didn't understand why there's a bunch of this change symbolism and iconography floating around in Veronica's storyline. Because to my eyes, she doesn't change throughout this episode.
I'm with you. I have some serious things to say about a major scene she's got later on.
Yeah. But I think there's a great scene next that really captured all of our hearts and minds when Penelope Blossom shows up at the school to just stand so close to Archie they could be wearing the same pair of pants and convince him to go out with her daughter.
So weird. I really loved the flashback that happened because I never would have been able to visualize one person handing another person a football jersey
This show
if they
has
hadn't shown me.
zero confidence in the viewer's attention span. Mrs. Blossom says, "Remember how you gave me Jason's jersey?" Flashback. Archie gives her Jason's jersey. That was a really touching moment. Thank you, Archie. I appreciate this. Like, come on, guys.
I did not need visual support for that one. Thank you, Riverdale writers.
Also, Archie is so sweaty in this scene. Like, he's wearing gym clothes, and that didn't make it that much sense to me why he wouldn't have changed out of them before going out into the hall. I just wanted Penelope to be like, why are you so sweaty, Archibald? He's just like, I was thinking about Cheryl, her breast. I mean, the best way to tell her I can't go with her.
Or just been like really into how sweaty he was. That would have been great too.
She does like touch his shoulder.
Jason used to sweat just like this in between his water polo and football games.
You know, when she touched him, I kind of wanted her to like smell it, lick it. Like, she's like, "Oh, my son."
So this was tied into your theory, Sarah, where you believe that Archie's a werewolf.
Yeah.
I felt like Penelope and Cheryl are both going so hard in the paint with getting Archie to go to this event that there has to be some really dark ulterior motive. Like, I thought he was going to be a sacrifice, and I thought it was going to unveil an age-old feud between vampires and werewolves and all sorts of stuff.
I'm still not ruling that out. I think for now it was just his wolfy pheromones that were just like really calling to them. But I'm hoping there is a blood feud. Doesn't Alice Cooper refer to the Blossoms as vampires earlier in this episode?
Yes, I wanted that to be
foreshadowing. It's totally gonna happen.
I really wanted that to be true. It seemed like the opening of a horror movie. Like, if you had it open up with, oh, this kid's getting pulled into this world of this strange and reclusive family, like, you know they're gonna try and sacrifice him.
Yeah. Look, we've all seen Midsommar. I have not seen Midsommar.
I haven't seen it.
No.
Yeah, so Mrs. Blossom tells Archie, like, she'll help him get into a fancy musical academy for the summer if he takes Cheryl to the tree tapping. And I just have to say, like, the Blossoms are working so hard to get an escort for Cheryl. Who knew Cheryl had to pay for dates?
Yeah, she's hot and rich. She's like the captain of the cheerleading squad. How is she this hard up?
Exactly. There's got to be guys lined up around the block, but you always want what you can't have.
And what you can't have is some sophomore doof who's just
Hey,
doofing along.
supply and demand. There just isn't enough Archie to go around. Oh. And then, so Archie meets with the rest of the core gang in a student lounge, of course, and is like, oh yeah, I'm going to this thing with Cheryl, don't worry, I talked to Val about it, she's okay, but please don't mention it to her at all. So I chose to believe he didn't ask her or tell her about any of this.
I'm convinced Valerie just doesn't exist at this point. Like, she's just a figment of Archie's imagination. We're never going to see or hear from her again. Archie will just occasionally reference the fact that he thinks she exists.
People are like, oh, is Valerie like Miss Grundy's real name? I just think he still has that going on.
But yeah, then Jughead is like, oh, cool that you're prostituting yourself. And then there's a glorious conversation where everyone talks about the benefits of selling yourself to get what you want. Veronica and Betty are both like, this is a great idea. Like, what? This is so weird.
I mean, honestly, Archie becoming a sex worker is the subplot I didn't know I wanted. I'm fine with it.
This show is unexpected. And, I mean, Betty has her ulterior motive of, like, if you're there, check on my sister who's dropped off the radar since she moved into Thornhill. She has a reason for that.
You'd think she'd be, like, a little more, like, Archie, I want you to do what you feel comfortable with, but if you do this, could you check on Polly? Not like, yeah, cool, bro, sell your body. Just get me the dirt on Polly while you do.
He could be doing worse things. Veronica seems, like, kind of jealous, but she's also flirty. And Archie in his head has got to be like planning some way that he can sleep with Veronica and Cheryl and somehow still keep Val in the dark. If he embraced that part of himself, the show would be much more interesting in my mind.
He needs to be more of a douche to be interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, he is. We just need everyone else in his life
more
to acknowledge
consciously
it.
a douche.
Yes.
He still has this veil of morality where he seems to be lying to himself, especially in the penultimate scene of this episode. And it just made me really angry with him. Like, accept the fact, like, you are what you are, lean into it. He really pissed me off this episode. I'm still angry at him. Everything he does is stupid and wrong.
Archie, you need to call Hunter for some tips on how to lean in.
Trust me. At least we have a totally normal corporate trust building outing whenever everyone traipses into the woods in the snow for a tree tapping ceremony.
One thing, so Cheryl is dressed in like a flowing red cape and an even shorter skirt than she had last time.
And she's got these lines like, when Jason died, I thought I'd tap my last tree, but it turns out there's another redwood I'd like to drain the syrup from.
Oh, and Clifford has a great speech like, my son, when he came of age, performed this ceremony as well. And as we've established, Jason would have been 15 at the oldest. Like, what is coming of age to the Blossoms? Is this like their version of a bar mitzvah?
I also really love that he has this fancy scroll, and all he appears to read from it is the date of the first tree tapping on the Blossom property. Like, he just has this enormous scroll that just says this one thing he can never remember.
June 18th.
Yeah. One day I'll memorize it.
It's like that SpongeBob essay where it's just a really ornate "the."
Yeah.
Before that, though, we skipped over Cheryl speaking French. She tells...
Entre nous.
Entre nous. But, like, why is that an entre nous situation? Like, why is it a secret that these are board members? Who else would they be? Like, avid maple syrup fans? The cult of the marvelous Mrs. Maple? Like, I don't understand.
Oh my god, that's so good! Ah!
Entre nous means, like, between us.
Right.
And she's like, between us, these are the trustees of a publicly traded company. You can find their headshots on the website.
I'm so confused because when they take a picture together at some point, I think it's after this, and it looks like the Blossom shareholders are almost all family members, but there's like little throw-ins of diversity. So way in the back, like hidden behind a bunch of redheads, is one elderly black man. To his side is a middle-aged Asian woman, and on the far right is this mysterious Asian man posing like he's getting ready to audition for the role of James Bond, and honestly, I think he could nail it.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that on a second watch where I'm like, there's a couple people who don't look like they're Blossoms, like maybe they married into the family, because we know it's a family business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sprinkled in some diversity there so that people didn't think they were some sort of redheaded Aryan race.
Yeah, I feel like those people were totally just groundskeepers, though. Like, we know this family. They don't do diversity. They don't even do other hair colors.
So Penelope Blossom married into the family, and so she's not a Blossom. So did Cliff just choose someone who had red hair?
Yes. Or he married a cousin.
That seems actually eminently likely here. And they really build up this whole tree tapping thing of like it's a big deal how the syrup turns out on this initial tree tap. It seemed like supernatural at this point. Like it's an inauspicious tap. The sap runs slow. An omen.
And it's actually so easy for Cheryl to do it. Like they build up like, can she do it? This will rebuild the Board of Trustees' confidence in us. She like taps it once with a hammer and it just flows. Like, how is that a hard thing? How could she have failed that?
I mean, if you didn't have Blossom genes, you'd miss the tree entirely. Just swing at the air.
Luckily, she has Archie there for moral support, and he gets on his knees, ready to catch that sticky stream that Cheryl's gonna unleash.
Yeah, it's the like most anticlimactic thing that they build up.
If it was gonna be this much build-up, like, build up to a more impressive image. Like, have her lift like a sledgehammer that's 3 times the size of her body and shout like, I have the power!
By the honor of Grayskull!
That was an odd scene. Before we move on to Veronica's god-awful lunch, on the walk back from this tree tapping, Archie tries to confront Polly about why she's being uncommunicative with her family, and she just kind of brushes him off. This seemed like another sort of like false attempt to build some sort of suspense that could have been solved with like one text message from this girl to her family.
Seriously. And I won't point out Polly is wearing a bug brooch because she's a fly on the wall. Symbolism.
Oh, I didn't notice that at all.
Oh, yeah.
Holy
Look,
crap.
I'm just pretty observant with fashion as we've long established.
So what colors are appropriate for a funeral, Kevin?
Whatever color your Letterman jacket is.
Yes, correct.
He passes flying colors. And on their way back, Archie's being real nice to Cheryl, and some board members are talking shit on her, and he defends her.
No, Cheryl loved Jason. What was she meant to do at his funeral, not cry? And yeah, Jason was on the football team, but Cheryl was at every single game, too, doing as much to help the Bulldogs win as he did.
And this is where we find out that Cheryl has a 4.0 GPA, which, going back a few episodes, her mom said that no boarding school in Europe would take her. Again, she's a 4.0 student from a rich family. That doesn't make any sense.
With extracurriculars.
Yeah. Any school would take her. Also, her parents clearly are well connected. They could just make a phone call.
Well, maybe boarding schools in Europe are just really picky about accepting colorblind students, because Cheryl says that she'll be wearing a Viridian dress, and spoilers, later in the episode, her dress is blue, not Viridian.
Yes, I obsessed about this a lot. Viridian specifically is a color in between green and teal, but it's more towards green than teal. And that dress was just blue. It was blue.
Yeah, Viridian's a pretty foresty green.
Yep.
I just knew it was like a town in Pokemon. But when Archie defends Cheryl's honor to these board members, this is like when we first get the hint that Cheryl is really developing the hots for him. Like, she has this look like her ovaries began dropping eggs like a B-52 bomber, because Archie has that effect on women.
Oh, I do want to point out real quick that part of the way Archie chooses to defend Cheryl is he goes off on this tangent where he goes, and yeah, Jason was on the football team. And I'm like, wait, where are you going with this? Like, no one said anything about football. But in Archie's little pea brain, he's like, you know what'll really convince the board of trustees for this $1 million company? If I talk about high school football.
That's what they like. This upcoming scene was, for me, the most cringeworthy scene in the episode. One of the worst scenes I've ever watched, and it's Veronica's lunch where she invited Ethel over to her place. Like, every single moment of this, I was uncomfortable.
We learn that there's a connection between the Muggs family and the Lodge family when Ethel reveals her name is Muggs, and it used to have a third G. The fourth G, of course, was lost during the Franco-Dutch War. A lot of good G's were lost in that fight.
They dropped the second G even whenever they started their root beer empire.
They did.
The thing that didn't make sense to me is Ethel's at this lunch. She seems uncomfortable. She's shown a propensity to be reticent to opening up. And yet, in this room, in front of Hermione, other people that she doesn't know very well, she just starts laying bare her family issues, which just doesn't seem like something a human being would do. Like, this is usually a one-on-one conversation with someone that you're very close to.
Yeah, and Veronica immediately twisted it to be about herself instead. She's like, look, I felt that with my own dad, but I still wear the pearl necklace he gave me to remind me of him.
Girl, we have a lot more in common than I thought. We lost our place at the Dakota. Look, being ruined sucks.
And it's like, that's nice, Veronica. Isn't this supposed to be for Ethel's benefit, though? Like, maybe meet her where she's at instead of bragging about your jewelry.
Veronica doesn't actually seem to know how to be empathetic towards someone. I guess she's trying to relate, but it just comes off as being very selfish. And then Hermione pulls her aside and it's like, yeah, your dad totally Bernie Madoffed that family out of every penny that they had.
It's a rough scene all around. And you actually pointed out to me how bad the food was on the table.
I didn't notice that. What was it?
It's supposed to be quiche Lorraine, but it just looks like the most like lazy pile of eggs and some dry salad. It's a quiet lunch with 5 people in a dimly lit apartment in the middle of the day. This would not cheer anyone up.
But I think this is probably a good time to, we've actually got our first ad sponsorship for somewhere I think people would like to eat. So, Hunter, will you play our ad copy?
Are you tired of going to your classmate's pre-war apartment for an inedible lunch?
For the last time, Veronica, I'm not anorexic. All you did was put dry arugula on a plate. This food is terrible.
Does your cold and empty home make you want to throw a brick through your estranged husband's front window?
I want my daughter back, you bastard!
Sick of being invited to cult meetings in the middle of the woods?
I used to think there weren't any great places to harvest the blood of innocent, sexy teen boys to appease the will of the great maple. But that was before I tried this turkey on rye hold of tomatoes. Now, my team is happy, satisfied, and we hold ritual slaughters here every week.
Come on down to Pops, where the food is hot, the hospitality's warm, and a vagabond child writes disjointed manifestos in the corner. Just listen to our glowing reviews.
As the bootsteps of domestic imperialism trample the American dream, I know there's still one place left for true artists. Pops is where I go to unveil the corruption that's spreading through this town like spilled coffee soaking into a napkin.
Whether you're here to drink a portentous milkshake, stalk a teen boy so you can drug and handcuff him, or you're just dropping off your pet rattlesnake at our on-site exotic animal daycare, Pops is the place to be in Riverdale.
Hey, aren't they putting in a Sbarro's at that new Sodale complex? People are pretty excited about that.
They won't be if I can halt construction. Located under the glowing neon sign, you can't miss us. Pops,
It's the only restaurant in town.
Wow, I did not know Pops was a real diner. I'd love to go there now. That sounds like a great place.
Yeah, I think they were the first ones to reach out to us after the work we did. We really wanted to prove that we're an ad-friendly podcast that doesn't just make inside jokes.
Yeah, Pops, as we just discovered, is a cult classic.
Where were we over here? Oh, yeah, we just got through Veronica's beautiful lunch, and then Hermione finally tells Luke Perry all the truth about, hey, Hiram owns this land and you're working for the lodges.
I would have liked if Luke Perry responded, girlfriend, I can see you're going through some stuff right now, and that must be really tough. I'm always here for you to talk. Instead, he reacts like a real person. He's like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me this? God, I'm caught between the 2 richest men in town. They're both gunning to destroy me now.
But the thing that doesn't make sense is he's like, that's why Cliff Blossom was trying to stop construction and all these other things. But in the last episode, Cliff was still referring to the whole project as, oh, I don't know who the anonymous buyer is. There's still, to my knowledge, the Blossoms never knew that the lodges owned it.
Yeah, it's unclear because at the end of this episode, Mr. Blossom makes a line that seems to indicate he did know, but then I don't know why he wouldn't have just dropped that bomb last episode to cause drama for Hermione and Luke Perry. Like, why would he hold on to that? What's his advantage in that?
Because he said that. Luke Perry pulls up in front of the lodge driveway and confronts Cliff, and Cliff's like, I don't know who your anonymous buyer is, but I can tell he's got limited funds. So how did the heck do we suddenly think Cliff knows and that he's the one who spilled the beans about the affair to Hiram?
It's so weird.
I want to speculate, but I can't bring myself to care about this plot line.
I don't know. This was another thing that just really brought my piss to a boil. So I was over here just trying to map out, like, what's the point? What's happening here? I would have preferred it if Luke Perry was like, how do you find out about the affair? Maybe we shouldn't have been posting all those sex tapes to Pornhub with our real names.
I just still don't understand why the lodges were involved in Riverdale real estate at all.
Because it seemed like they were based in New York City, and that was where all the business was. I thought that Riverdale was like their fallback of, oh, like everything got taken away from us except the apartment building they live in, which I think they own. So maybe Hiram always had like a toehold in Riverdale real estate. That's where he got his start.
But why?
Yeah. I mean, if we ask why, we'll be here all day.
Like, there are plenty of buildings within New York City itself. I don't get it.
It doesn't
Whatever.
make any sense.
It seems like it'd be a lot easier to hide shady real estate developments in the largest city in the country than in this tiny town that has, like, approximately 2 cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Coles-de-Sac.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, now you're busting out the French.
Yeah.
That whole plot line, just like Sarah said, I'm not as invested in it. I'm way more tied into Cliff Blossom and Archie, because Cliff's like, you gotta come with my daughter to the big maple banquet. And he's just like really got a boner for Archie. The whole Blossom family is all about this kid.
He's like the son they never murdered.
And Cliff has this line of, people like you are the bedrock of our town. And I wanted him to follow that up with, you reside at the bottom and we walk all over you.
That would actually be really in character for him, too.
I love that he tells Archie that he wants him to come because his family, and well, he is such a hardworking gentleman. And I guess he knows about the child labor and really supports it. Not sure.
It's weird. Like, why is the whole Blossom family so into this idea? I wish any of my girlfriend's parents had been so enamored with me. This would have been great. I would have never turned that down.
I think it seems terrifying. I would not have enjoyed that.
There's kind of an interesting parallel being built, too, in, like, the Blossoms are throwing all of these gifts and bribes at Archie to, like, buy their way into his good grace. And, like, that feels like a classic rich person move. Like, you will be my friend because I will buy your friendship. And at the same time, Veronica is trying to do the same thing with Ethel. But Ethel's like, no, you weirdo. We're just friends. You don't have to do this for me. But meanwhile, Archie, who's on the receiving end of gifts, is like, cool, keep it coming.
Hey, you don't turn down the perks of the job. And Cheryl, in this scene, calls Archie Archiekins, stealing Veronica's nickname for him. And also, using a nickname on this show is like a universal sign that you want to hump someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Archie, as soon as he gets, in with the Blossoms, he scampers over to the Coopers and starts telling them all the inside scoop.
And I do have to ask, like, Alice Cooper is a Cooper by marriage. Why is she still so pissed off at the Blossoms for what they did to the Cooper family now that she's separated from Hal?
Does she need a reason to be pissed off?
No,
Alice
she
Cooper.
doesn't. But that's what she says her reason is. She's like, can you believe that the Blossoms killed your great-grandfather? It's like, why do you care? He didn't have any relation to you.
I feel like she's just a constant inferno of rage, and she just like picks reasons out of a hat.
Yeah.
That's why I relate to her. She's mad at the world. And I love that when Betty brings up Polly, hey, like, let's focus on this, Alice dismisses it, and she's just like, why are you so hung up on this Polly girl? She's got no sizzle. She doesn't move newspapers.
Enough already.
And so Jughead and Betty go to confront Cheryl to ask about Polly, and in a very confusing scene, All of the River Vixens, except for Betty, are in their River Vixen uniforms. I guess it's like a cheer day or something. So is Betty off the team?
I had the same question.
I did decide, though, watching this, that I'm going to close out every podcast episode by saying, scatter my vixens.
That is a great closing line.
Are Betty and Veronica off the cheerleading squad? Is this what we're supposed to assume? Can we assume anything in this show?
No.
Does
I don't
anything
know.
mean anything?
No.
It feels like they're just making things up as they go. As we'll get to very soon after this scene, we officially learn that Polly is having twins, and Cheryl says one of my cringe lines of the episode,
Bless our blossom jeans.
"Bless our blossom jeans."
Oh, is that what she said? I thought she said, bless her blossom jeans, and I was like, wait, is this some reveal that, like, the Cooper and the Blossom family is already tied together by blood?
I wouldn't be surprised with this show.
Clearly, twins run in the Blossom family, so I now assume that every single member of the family has an evil twin, and I can't wait to meet them all.
Oh, there's another Cliff. He wears even thicker turtlenecks.
Exactly.
That's Bedford, Uncle Bedford, remember?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she does call Jughead a hobo.
That was a joke, you hobo.
Yes.
She just gives this, like scans him up and down in disgust. I enjoyed and appreciated that.
Yeah, that all of Cheryl's lines except for the Blossom Jean line in this scene were pretty good.
Polly's having twins. My prediction is now fact. It's set in stone, but in this show they might forget that. When the baby comes, it's just going to be like one. Polly's just going to no longer be pregnant in the next episode. They're never going to mention it again.
Yes. So after this, we cut to Veronica trying to give Ethel the presents we alluded to earlier, and once again reiterating that the pearls she wears were given to her by her father, which I think it might be a little bit of a contradiction because in an earlier episode, she swore on, quote, my mother's pearls. So I don't know if she just got pearls from both of them, or if the writers just forgot, or if they're just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks.
Or she's a filthy liar.
Yeah. That's probably true. And this is another uncomfortable scene because imagine being on the receiving end of this as Ethel. It's so uncomfortable if someone just gives you a bunch of stuff out of nowhere and it seems like she's being pitied and not treated as a friend. To me, this is not like, oh, Veronica's a good person.
I don't know. I disagree. I decided watching this, I need more rich friends who want to give me designer goods when I'm sad. Call me, ladies.
Ethel is way too good of a person for Veronica, though. Like, she's like, I'm just happy that you're my friend. Stop throwing these, like, Louvre paintings at me.
I don't know. I'm just a person who feels really awkward receiving gifts, so I have a problem with them at any time. Unless it's, from the family of the girl I'm dating.
In that case, Hunter, I'd like to apologize for sending you those $10 Hair Miles the damn drinking glasses I sent you. That was overstepping. It was way too much.
I literally have that in my hand right now. Just so you guys know, for Christmas, Kevin and Sarah sent me the hair model of the damn cup that I found in, I think, like episode 4 or 5. And I will be drinking out of this for the rest of this podcast and hopefully the rest of my life. I love this. I get to have a Cheryl Blossom quote right next to me, and she is the greatest character on this show because she shows up to the Andrews home, says that Luke Perry's hot as fuck, comes in.
Oh, she calls him a dilf and I died inside.
That's the cringiest line in this episode for me.
Mr. Andrews, nice haircut. Looking extremely dilfy today.
My skin tried to crawl away from our living room.
It's so bad.
But she does give Archie a guitar. And again, I was like, I need more rich friends who give me expensive guitars because I'm cute.
Yeah, and it's a
Call me,
gorgeous
ladies.
guitar. Fred is like, hey, maybe you should give that back. And Archie's like, look, Dad, bribery is a perfectly legitimate way to receive gifts.
I wanted, whenever she gave him the guitar, open up the case, for her to have some line like, oh, here's a new guitar. I had it strung for you, but it's missing its G string. Just like that.
She'd do it, too.
I'd really like to know more about your...
And those lines wouldn't be any more shameless than the DILF line.
Don't fret, Archie. Later we can neck.
How do you feel about fingering A minor?
Oh my god.
Looks like you guys have her pegged, so let's get back to the actual discussion.
Why is Archie such desirable arm candy that you're gonna buy him like a guitar that's worth several $1,000s?
Good question. Your parents still haven't bought me any $1,000 guitars. Do they even like me?
I think they do. Hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see. If they buy you a mink stole, we'll know you're in.
So after that scene, Alice and Betty go to the Riverdale Register office where Hal just lives now, I guess. And
Also, they haven't been able to afford new computers at the Riverdale Register for apparently 20 years or more because it's like a 1996 or 7 model computer. Finest technology.
And Alice wants to publish her hit piece, but Hal, now bafflingly, is like, I don't want to get involved in a feud with the Blossoms. What is with this family? Did they remember who they're related to?
First of all, how are they working together in the days after Alice kicked Hal out? Did they just have like icy silence inside the Riverdale Register office?
Which must have been hard because they appear to share one computer.
That's running like MS-DOS or something. And also, like, Hal is Alice's boss because he fires her. How did that happen? Are they the only 2 employees? I have so many questions about this
Oh,
newspaper.
yes. In the ultimate act of betrayal, Hal has changed the password to the computer.
This has ratcheted up the tension to an unprecedented degree. Alice snaps. Like, we finally get to see the beautiful Alice that we know and love.
Yes, she really freaks out. She throws a brick through the window. Sheriff Keller, years later, is still trying to figure out who did that. Who could it have
She
been?
smashes through that window just like Alice Cooper would through the fragile confidence of a housebroken husband.
It was great. See, this is what I want. I just want Alice doing a bunch of badass shit. And, of course, instead of a full rampage, we have this scene where Jughead and Betty discuss the broken glass incident. Betty busts out the waterworks. And I was thinking back on this series. I think I can count on one finger the episodes where Betty hasn't cried.
She does a good cry face, though.
She cries in every episode.
She emotes it pretty well. And later we'll get to see and compare her cry face to Veronica's cry face. And Betty nails it while Veronica struggles.
Yes. Yeah, Lily Reinhart is a much more capable actress from what we've seen so far. Maybe they grow. Don't know.
I think they hired her strictly for her ability to cry on command.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, I just want to point out, Betty is half Hal Cooper, so it makes sense that she's at least partially a sad sack.
Yeah. I like Jughead's speech to cheer her up. He's like, don't worry, Betty. As a 15-year-old, you're now responsible for your terrifying, insane mother, your passive-aggressive dad, and your pregnant teen sister. You've got this. Like, it's fine. Calm down.
I didn't really necessarily like the stuff that Jughead was saying, where he's like, you're the one keeping the family together. And it seemed like he was projecting because his own family fell apart. I was like, you're kind of putting more pressure on this poor girl that's already under a lot. You could be doing a lot better as a boyfriend in this situation.
Yeah, just be like, this sucks so hard, I'm so sorry. And
That's
hug her. That's all you need to do.
That's a lot of pressure to put on a 15-year-old. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Moana, but there's a great scene towards the end of it where it seems like Moana has failed in her quest. And the spirit of her grandmother comes and visits her and apologizes to her and says, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have put this all on you to fix our problems. And it's a really great scene for that reason. Just acknowledging, we shouldn't have placed such super high expectations on someone who's still coming into her own.
It's very sweet that you've seen Moana.
I worked at Disney for 3.5 years. I had to be up on what was being released. People wanted to talk with me about it, and I had to pretend to care.
I have never seen Moana.
Me neither.
Me neither. He said coyly.
I just learned enough about movies that I can talk about them with children and be like, oh yeah, that Olaf sure is a snowman. Yep.
All right, so Archie at the Blossom family estate is being fitted for the most awful looking suit, and he sends the tailor away so he can talk to Cliff Blossom. And it's just like, Mr. Blossom, I wanted to wait until I was partially undressed and looking completely ridiculous before I had this heart-to-heart with you.
Yeah, he's got like 2/3 of a suit jacket on. He's in his boxers, but Cliff looks like he's 1 second away from just like pulling him in for the most passionate kiss we've yet seen on the series.
Sexy times down at the Red Suit Emporium.
Archie says, can you help my dad out? His business is struggling and all this stuff. And Cliff's like, I respect the hell out of you right now.
You're even better than my real son.
I know. He really does say that. He's like, Jason would have never done this. He was kind of an asshole.
And I'm so much more attracted to you, too.
Yeah. It's not wrong for me to feel these feelings towards you, Archie.
And then after that, because Archie's negotiation leads to Cliff saying, I'll help out your dad and I'll still get you into music school. And the tailor comes in and says, great, so we're all done here. Archie's got like half a sleeve. There's still like clear tailoring lines everywhere. It's like, no, you are far from done.
Not even close, my dude. Yeah, so let's keep that in mind for the rest of this episode, that Archie in this scene has said, hey, I'm going to go to this event and be on good terms with you because it's not only going to help me, but it's going to help my father, who's going through insane amounts of financial trouble with his business, and our livelihood depends on it. Let's just set that baseline as things move forward, and Archie does dumb bullshit.
But you know who shows up? Val! Oh my god, she exists again!
Yeah, we have this scene of like a 3-second shot of Val in the student lounge, and Cheryl comes up in a skirt so short you can see her tonsils, and like whispers in her ear. Val instantly scampers over to Archie and is like, Cheryl said she's gonna steal you away from me.
And Archie's like, why do you have a problem with me pimping myself out to a creepy wealthy family in exchange for networking opportunities? Be more progressive, Val.
Exactly. You gotta show some respect for that. The guy's doing work.
Yeah, Archie throws it back in her face. He's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Wouldn't you sell yourself for opportunities? And she says, if you have to ask, then you don't know me at all, Archie. And I want him to reply, who was that? Valerie? Victoria? I'm sure it'll come to me.
I mean, she's not wrong, though, because her little, like, can I maybe sing co-lead on the bridge sometimes approach is obviously in direct opposition to Archie's.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet of her, but, like, come on, Val, that will never work in this economy. That's not how you're going to get your music career started.
Exactly. I think Archie's doing, like, when he was on this trajectory of hustling, I had respect for him. And when he tries to grow moral towards the end, left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
Disgusting. This is the scene that I know you have a lot to say about, Kevin. This is where Veronica snaps like a dry twig.
Oh, yes. So Kevin comes up and tells Veronica that Ethel's dad tried to kill himself, or as he puts it, he accidentally swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills.
Oh my god, did you hear? Remember when you went swooping in to save Ethel because you thought she might be suicidal?
Oh no, she didn't.
No, but her dad did. He accidentally swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills.
Just like you do, like you mean to pour out one, but like a clump of ice at the bottom of the glass, the whole thing comes out, and then you just gotta have them all.
Yeah, I wanted it to be like, yeah, Ethel's dad popped like 3 Xanny bars and a bunch of Molly at Hedonism in Jamaica. He got super dehydrated. They had to rush him to the hospital.
But right after that, Kevin follows that up with, oh, he's gonna be fine, by the way, which immediately sucks all dramatic tension out of this scene.
Yeah, they pumped his stomach. He coughed up 250 Tylenol. He'll be cool.
But here's a question for you two. Let's say your friend, you find out that her dad is in the hospital, but he's going to be fine. What do you think is the appropriate way to react to that news?
Oh, I mean, every time I hear anyone is in the hospital for any reason, I run to the nearest bathroom, have a complete panic attack, and rend my garments.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Luckily, that is what Veronica does. She goes to the bathroom, primal scream of agony, and in a symbolic moment of rejecting her father, just tears off her pearl necklace in some symbolism that I think either indicates she's completely done with her father, or she's Batman's mom and she's about to be murdered in an alleyway.
I did not make that connection. But there's also in the bathroom, to really just hammer home this symbolism, there's like a little flyer in the background that says "Show your colors." So it's like more of this thing of like, oh, Veronica's choosing who she's gonna be, but it's so heavy-handed.
I think it's also just so misplaced too. Like, Veronica, you are not the person whose emotional reaction this matters. Like, Ethel's the one whose dad is hurt right now. She should get the emotional reaction. You being upset that your father tangentially harmed them and having like the primal wail of agony, it's supposed to be like an emotional, but it comes across as really selfish that she thinks she's who comes first in this scene, I guess.
Yeah, it is not about you, Veronica.
And of course, like, Betty rushes to her aid, so Veronica kind of gets this attention she was seeking.
Also, when she rips apart her pearl necklace, we see that Veronica is wearing like 5-inch stiletto heels. I just want to point out, the school has stairs. You're going to sprain an ankle, Veronica. Be reasonable. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'll get more into the pearl necklace tearing a little later, because just for now, remember, like, this is probably the most powerful visual of the episode. Her symbolically destroying the thing that signifies her relationship with her father.
Yes. Maybe to keep this train together, we can jump over to when Veronica and Betty go over to the hospital and deliver flowers to the Muggses.
Yeah, so Veronica once again trying to buy forgiveness. She almost walks away, but decides to reveal that she is Hiram Lodge's daughter to the Muggses. And in like a very weird reveal, she goes, "I have something to tell you."
Ethel? Mrs. Muggs? There's something I need to tell you. My name is Veronica Lodge.
I want Ethel to go, "Veronica, we have 3 classes together. I've heard you in roll call like every day for months."
Exactly.
No, I'm the daughter of Hiram Lodge. We stole the 5th G from your family name.
We were just the Loads before that.
But yeah, Ethel's mom understandably bitches her out. Like, I get that, like, Veronica didn't have anything to do with this, but the mom's grieving, so I get it. That she's like, if you really want to, like, be on our side, you should testify against Hiram. And this really bugged me, because Veronica tearing off her pearl necklace should have been the moment that she was done with Hiram. That should have been the completion of her emotional arc against him. So the fact that the most potent visual metaphor has been deployed, but she still hasn't reached the end of her emotional journey, is really missed opportunity writing here. She acts like, I go against my dad, what?
Wow, I can't believe that the writers of Riverdale would sloppily deploy symbolism.
I know.
So unlike them. I really did think it was sweet of Veronica, though, to come over and be like, I just wanted to give you these flowers and also give you someone to conveniently scapegoat for this suicide attempt. Here you go.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It was another clumsy attempt to have Veronica mean something when really all we care about is, shockingly, an Archie plotline for once, where he's going into the Blossom family event wearing his beautiful, disgusting red suit.
It reminds me of, in the Harry Potter movies, every Christmas, Ron Weasley would get the disgusting red sweaters. That's what it looked like, but as a suit.
And then Cliff's wearing one too. They have their matching red suits. It's really, really disgusting. And then Cheryl, again, with her blue dress. It is blue. She looks fantastic, but that is a blue dress.
I didn't notice the color of the dress, not gonna lie.
I was hoping that there would be a reveal that all of the wine glasses at this dinner are just filled with different grades of maple syrup.
Yes.
So Cheryl and Archie are at this banquet deal, and Cheryl's like, oh, they wanted me to fail at the tree tapping. What would that even mean, and why would that matter? They're like Romans reading rabbit entrails. That's not how you run a business in the 21st century.
And then Cliff Blossom tells Archie, like, you're the hope for this whole family. Like, we know that you can rein in Cheryl's erratic behavior. Which, like, you think Archie is going to be able to stop Cheryl from wearing white at funerals? Dream on.
Oh, and it seems like they're almost pushing, like, an arranged marriage sort of deal.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's odd as hell.
And then Cheryl and Archie, well, I guess there's also Polly.
Oh,
we learn that Polly's a double agent.
This was a Another confusing scene. Hunter, you got something to say?
I was just gonna say, it was weird because out of nowhere she's like, I have a hunch that the Blossoms had something to do with Jason's death, and I'm here to figure that out. I feel like she could have communicated that to Betty, but also, what evidence do we have anywhere in these previous 8 episodes that the Blossoms were responsible for killing Jason?
None to my knowledge.
It'd be cool if we had some other things that made us be like, oh, I think Polly's on the right track, if we had a couple breadcrumbs, but there isn't any. Or aren't any.
Yeah, the thing that bugged me, though, is, Polly's ploy to get inside with the Blossoms was she had to make it believable that she was on the outs with her family. But then as soon as her family acted like they were on the outs with her and tried to contact her, she's like, great, now I've got to tell them so they don't blow my cover by behaving the way I was hoping they would. It's a very weird and circular kind of reasoning.
Makes very little sense to me.
It's just a contrived setup to stir some cheap drama that she didn't tell them.
Yeah, like, why would them asking about her ruin her plot to uncover what's going on? Because she could just be like, yeah, I'm distancing myself from them. Cheryl, keep ignoring Betty whenever she comes to you at school.
Yeah, it keeps up the ruse better. I don't get it.
Who knows? Nothing makes sense anymore. But Cheryl runs off from the event because I guess Cliff went to confront her about her erratic behavior.
Yes. Cheryl says, what did Dad say to you? That everyone thinks I'm a train wreck? And Archie, with the eloquence we've come to know and love, just goes,
It's nothing. But she's like, Jason was the golden child. He was perfect. And I mean, she's totally right. He got women pregnant. He dealt drugs. He ran away from home. He was like the most responsible guy.
No erratic behavior.
But like Cheryl, on the other hand, like sometimes gets upset when family members die. So like, she's not cut out for business. Never gonna happen.
Hysterical woman, if I've ever seen one.
Wild.
Okay, this is where I'm still so fucking angry at Archie. Because Cheryl is like, hey, I'm glad you're here. He says all these things that are totally leading her on, where he's like, I think you're awesome, Cheryl. I think you're great. He just butters her up. And so naturally, like any person, she thinks, oh, this guy likes me, goes in for a kiss, and he gets all fucking offended.
Maybe it was the maple red lipstick. It's just like too sweet for him.
Oh, that was the line.
It was so awful.
To be fair, I'd probably run away after hearing that line too.
I have a stronger stomach than you then.
It's yeah. Archie just like immediately runs away into the snow,
Yeah, crying
because oh no, Cheryl kissed him, and then he overhears the Blossoms were the ones who got Hiram Lodge arrested, which is confusing because Hiram Lodge committed actual crimes. So like, it's kind of framed like that's how we got him sent away, but you got him sent away by revealing the actual wrongdoing he did. Like, this doesn't seem like it needs to be a grand conspiracy.
Right.
Exactly. If anything, the Blossoms are heroic whistleblowers who called attention to someone who was essentially running a Ponzi scheme.
I'm not sure I'd go that far, but...
But again, literally, how did they know each other?
They went to high school together.
Okay.
I don't know. Like,
if you say so.
It doesn't make sense because they have this Maple Empire, which I would think intersects little or not at all with Hiram, who seems to be involved in real estate or financial investments, because I just keep thinking like Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
And maybe some drug stuff too, because he seemed to know something like that. I don't know. There's so much weird stuff going on. I don't get how everything overlaps. I don't get why a drive-in used to be the site of like a very lucrative maple empire, but somehow it got lost. It's also weird.
They blew the whistle on Hiram, which is apparently a terrible thing to do to get the awful dude sent to prison. And Archie again flips out and is walking away, and Cheryl chases him down.
Yeah. And she's like, I thought you were better than other people. Where did you get that idea, Cheryl? He's the worst.
She's like, oh, if you leave here, all the good stuff that my family was going to do for you and your dad disappears. So if he walks away, like, he could potentially be dooming his father's business. That kind of sucks. Also, like, his line is, I only came here as a favor to your mom, which is super hurtful. to Cheryl, especially since like 2 minutes ago he was telling her he thinks so highly of her. So
Yeah.
he's got to be lying with one of those things. He just seems like a complete dickhead. And then I read this as like he's just lying to like himself and saying he only came here as a favor to Mrs. Blossom because he refuses to admit that he's a man whore.
Or, hear me out, he's sleeping with Mrs. Blossom.
Hey.
He has a type. I mean...
Yeah, he likes some...
Oh, Archie, call me Penelope. No. We're gonna pretend you're Miss Grundy for the night.
Hold this cello for me.
Yeah, it's all very bad. Cheryl rightly chews him out, but Archie acts like the aggrieved party and runs off again.
God, I had enough of this kid. I tell you that.
Why is he so scared of hot women kissing him? I
don't know.
That's very out of character.
I think he's just upset that she's age appropriate.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, any male between the age of 12 and dead would be okay with all the things that's been going on with him. This Archie character doesn't make sense, and I don't agree with any of his choices. Like, he clearly already has one foot out the door with the Val relationship. Just, like, own it, cut it off, and embrace the fact that the Blossoms are essentially, like, saving your dad's business.
Well, and I mean, I get that he might just not be into Cheryl. If so, you still don't need to run away. Like, you don't need to, like, run off into the night and hide in the bushes. You can just be like, no thanks. I just want to be friends. Let's go back to the party.
Yeah. But after bravely running away for the second time, he calls off screen to let Jughead and Betty know that Polly's a spy, and then they relate this news to Alice so she can have an emotional moment like, my daughter didn't abandon me. But I really felt like Betty should have been the one to have that emotional moment of like, oh, my sister didn't abandon me, because Betty's the character we care about more. She's the one who we've been kind of grieving alongside this episode. It's weird that we don't get to see like her getting the relieving news.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you mention that would make a lot more sense because she was the one who was sobbing to Jughead if she had that moment where, oh, like the strings swell, my sister doesn't hate my guts. It would have been cool. Mm-hmm. But hey, Alice gets a job on the school newspaper, which how is that?
Real feather in the cap of her journalistic career.
Like Jughead and Betty say, come work with us on the Blue and Gold. But it's a student newspaper, and Alice is like 40. Is that even a thing?
Are there no neighboring towns? Like, what about that nearby college that Archie's mean adjunct professor tutor worked at? Like, she can't get a job at any other newspaper? She has to go to the high school?
Which can pay, apparently.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, they have a bigger budget than the Riverdale Register? What?
I have no idea. The endowments that the Blossoms must give into that school are enormous, I'm guessing.
Do they have a computer that's like from the 2000s?
It's really weird. I don't see how you can have someone who's an adult and not in high school be on the high school newspaper. I thought the whole point was high schoolers work on the high school newspaper.
Right. You can't just have ringers. You can't be like, just call up all the best journalists I know from the New York Times and have them write some stuff for me.
Yeah.
Great news, guys. We've hired Brent Stevens to be our opinionist column. That'll really help us with the rage clicks over at our student newspaper.
That was weird. Val dumps Archie. We knew that this romance was not built to last, and I don't think anyone
Right. I predicted this last episode. I didn't think it happened so quickly, though.
Good for her, though.
I think she made the right choice, but we never really had any sort of emotional investment in this love story, so there isn't that much heft to it. She kind of is just like, hey, you're a bit of an idiot, and you ignore me all the time. Goodbye forever.
Since their kiss, they have had approximately 4 scenes together, the longest of which is their 15-second breakup. So, yeah, no investment.
And then, following in the footsteps of his son, Luke Perry is like, hey, Hermione, I'm not going to date you anymore, but I am going to stay on this project, and we're still going to be co-workers.
I really do think, though, that along with keeping the books, she still also keeps his heart.
Aww. He still loves her, but...
I think so.
And then Ethel, still being, like, the nicest person in this show, is like, well, of course I'm not mad at you, Veronica. You can't control that your dad's an asshole.
She's got a point. At least there's a metamorphosis poster in the background of this scene, so we know that Veronica's changed.
It just seems like Veronica's plot line had no actual stakes. Like, after Ethel forgives her, she's like, and I'm gonna testify against my dad now, so really, really glad that we went through that whole long emotional journey after the big emotional moment of her doing the things she already thought she should do from the beginning.
Guess what, Mom? I'm not gonna commit perjury, so there.
And then Jughead gives an awful narration that, like, really hits the nail on the head.
It seemed that for Veronica, the sins of the father would remain simply that.
Thanks. Couldn't figure that out on my own, Jug.
We need him for that. And now, I guess the thing is, since they know the Blossoms blew the whistle on Hiram, they think maybe Hiram killed Jason Blossom to get back at that family, so he's a murder suspect. Even though we've never seen him before, he's got no screen time. It seems like we've talked about, a weird thing that he even has a connection to this town of Riverdale. Like, this is when the show just keeps adding more questions than they answer, and I reached that point of, I think we're gonna be on season 3 and we're still not gonna know who killed Jason. That's my prediction. We're not gonna find out.
That seems possible. Or who knows, maybe Jughead can just give like weirdly on the nose narration at one point that just sums it up.
Turns out that he killed himself. That's the season 2 premiere.
Anyway.
And we close out the episode with Cheryl like menacingly crossing out Archie's face in the syrup photo, and then also crosses off Polly's face for some reason, even though they didn't even have an interaction in the episode, so there's no reason to know what any of this means.
See, you might think that's menacing, but it's in red marker, and making people red is a big sign of affection in the Blossom family, so...
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
See, I needed Jughead to spell that out for me. And Cheryl learned how to color.
Almost inside the lines.
I want a full Cheryl rampage next episode. Like, I want her to just be destroying everyone's life. I want her to somehow frame Archie for Jason's murder. That's what I'm hoping for. But knowing the Riverdale
writers... That would
writers,
be amazing.
Knowing the Riverdale writers, this is just going to be forgotten in an episode or two and things will go back to normal. But yeah, my hope is Archie's framed for Jason's murder.
All right, well, let's do the wrap-up and then jump into predictions since we've already gotten us started, Hunter. So, Archie, single again. Lodges may have been involved with the Blossom murder. Blossoms somehow involved with Hiram being arrested. Polly is undercover at Thornhill. Cheryl hates both Archie and Polly. Luke Perry, single again. Betty and Jughead, continuing to be our favorite couple. And Alice Cooper is going to have to go undercover as a transfer student to get a job on the student newspaper. I hope you guys have seen Never Been Kissed, because that's what's about to happen.
So excited.
And then she falls in love with David Arquette, who plays the baseball coach.
No, that was her brother.
Oh, crap! I haven't seen that movie in a while. She falls in love with the English teacher. I'm sorry.
Yes, Michael Vartan.
I've actually never seen Never Been Kissed. I've only seen Not Another Teen Movie, which partially parodies it.
Oh,
so,
Same.
Yeah, if you guys want me to recap the plot of Not Another Teen Movie, contribute to our Patreon, which we still don't have, and I will blow by blow recap the greatest satirical movie of the early 2000s.
I'm going to have a tally of our Patreon promises.
So my prediction for the episodes, we'll never actually get around to making that Patreon. I guess we'll learn why Cheryl is mad at Polly, and it'll probably be contrived. My hopeful prediction is that Alice will terrorize the school from within, and like no one will be able to stop her for whatever reason. She'll just be like sprinting down hallways, tackling students to get inside scoops on the Blossoms.
So, I can never predict what's going to happen in the show. I've made a couple like ones that are more feasible. If a person was actually guiding the story. So instead of that, I'm going to try and outthink the Riverdale writers. Next episode, a meteor hits downtown Riverdale, and there's a large-scale fire that's spreading through the town, and they just have to spend most of their time kind of like fighting the fire and helping refugees escape.
So you think it's a meteor, but it's actually an alien spacecraft, and inside is a young boy.
You're really pushing this Smallville crossover.
Why not?
A few cringiest lines that we didn't get the chance to cover. We lost our place at the Dakota. Look, being ruined sucks. What else did you see, Archie, when you were in the sticky red thick of it?
I had the follow-up line to that where Archie says, actually, Miss Cooper, Cheryl waxes.
I just... This isn't exactly a cringy line, but I still just, like, makes me just, like, drop my jaw in bafflement every time I read over it again. He accidentally swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, he accidentally built a Rube Goldberg machine that funneled medication directly down his throat. Not a big deal, though.
He's like a spring chicken. He's like light as a feather, skipping around.
Yeah, they gave him a cleanse in the hospital. He says he feels better than before.
When Veronica has her panic attack, like Kevin's dialogue cuts out, and I think that was the right choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had subtitles on, so I was still able to very clearly see what he was saying.
Yes.
Veronica, early in the episode, has this line of, Ethel's poem was a cry for help, the likes of which I vowed never to ignore. And she's just like, is she like a Marvel comic superhero at this point with great power and great responsibility?
Yes.
It was bad. I will have nightmares about the Cheryl. Mr. Andrews, nice haircut, looking extremely dilfy today.
Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh. It's hard to pick a cringiest from all these.
Yeah, I mean, the worst one for me was my lipstick is maple red, by the way.
I think
why
that
it
might
tastes
be
so
mine
sweet.
too. It's rough.
Yeah.
Cheryl gets a lot of bad ones, unfortunately.
Is maple usually associated with the color red, by the way?
I mean, it's like the leaves in fall are super like red.
Can be.
I guess, but isn't that kind of like saying like this is forest orange? Like,
Yeah.
It can happen. It's just it feels kind of off.
Yeah. It does. It doesn't make any sense. It's mostly that I don't even know what the point of that was.
Like she could they just like went way too hard on like the maple theming this episode. They could have just been like it's candy red, and that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I just assumed the lipstick was actually poison, and so she was just trying to explain why it tasted funny.
Oh, it's like that plot in Game of Thrones when one of those Dornish women kisses one of the Lannister kids, and then she dies from poison lipstick.
This is just bitter almond red, Archie. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, they could have gone a couple other ways with that line. Is that a tapping spigot in your pocket, or did you just really enjoy that kiss?
So for episode scores, I'm gonna say that while it wasn't a great episode, like if I was trying to be like more objective, it'd probably rate pretty lowly. In terms of sheer enjoyment, this was high up there. This was like a 4.5 out of 5. Let's call it satanic maple tapping rituals.
Oh, I need to come up with a good score for this. Because also, I felt the same way where this episode was so off the wall. I could have never predicted this plot twist. So I liked the hell out of it. I'm just going to say that this is 95% of a garishly tailored suit.
I'm just going to go for it and say this is 5 out of 5 pearls strewn on the floor.
Yeah, I think this is what we all want the show to be. Like, just crazy off-the-wall wackiness. Like, it's at its best when it makes the least sense.
Yes. I've embraced the chaos. I no longer hold out hope for any sort of coherent plot. And I think that's, in this episode, substantially increased my enjoyment. And I'm in it for all the right reasons now.
These were the longest notes I've taken for an episode, because I just had, like, thing after thing to say and make jokes about and present arguments about. So it was fun.
It was good. Do you have any other notes that you want to cover?
I just like to say, like, Pops, if you ever want to sponsor an episode from us again, please do. We loved your ad. We loved running it.
Yeah. It was great that they delivered it right to us. Next week, we'll be discussing episode 10 of Riverdale, which is called The Lost Weekend. I'm sure that title reveals nothing about what actually happens.
I was hoping it'd be like A Weekend at Bernie's, but apparently no, it's an art house film.
Oh, yeah. Weekend at Bernie's is great. But I wanted to say thanks to everyone for listening to Gritty Reboot. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, leave a rating or review because it really helps get our name out there.
In the meantime, you can email us at grittyrebootpodcast@gmail.com or tweet at us at grittyrebootpod. And you can also check out our website, grittyrebootpodcast.com, for info about the show, past episodes, upcoming news, and blog posts. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Sarah, I believe you have the final words to tell everyone.
All right, scatter my vixens.